In the dim glow of O'Malley's bar, where the air hung heavy with the scent of stale beer and whispered regrets, a single dad named Jack Harlan sat hunched over his whiskey, his calloused hands trembling slightly from another endless day. Jack wasn't the type to frequent places like this. Hell, he barely had time to breathe, but tonight, the weight of the world had driven him here. His wife had passed away 2 years ago in a car accident, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. Lily, with her bright eyes and infectious laugh, was fighting leukemia, and the hospital bills were a relentless storm threatening to drown them both. Jack worked double shifts at the construction site, but it never seemed enough. Tonight, he'd come for one drink to numb the ache, but fate had other plans. The waitress, Sarah, was new to the job, a young woman in her mid-20s with a kind smile that hid her own scars. She'd escaped an abusive relationship 6 months ago and was piecing her life back together, one shift at a time. The bar was buzzing with regulars, truckers laughing over pool, couples sharing quiet conversations, and a lone guitarist strumming sad tunes in the corner. Sarah approached Jack's table with a tray of drinks, her steps careful on the slick floor. But as she leaned in to set down his refill, her foot slipped on a puddle of spilled ale. The tray wobbled, and in a split second, disaster struck. Jack, lost in his thoughts of Lily's latest chemo session, reacted on pure instinct. As Sarah stumbled toward him, he shot up from his seat and shoved her, hard. She flew backward, crashing into a nearby table, glasses shattering like thunder. The bar fell silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in chaos. "What the hell, man?" a burly patron shouted, rising to his feet. Others murmured in shock, phones already out to capture the scene. Sarah lay sprawled on the floor, her arm bruised, tears welling in her eyes from the pain and humiliation. Jack stood there, frozen, his face pale as he realized what he'd done. It wasn't anger, it was reflex, born from years of protecting his little girl from every bump and bruise. But to everyone else, it looked like unprovoked violence. The bartender, a grizzled veteran named Mike, vaulted over the counter, grabbing Jack by the collar. "You just assaulted my waitress, buddy. I'm calling the cops." The crowd closed in, a mix of anger and curiosity thickening the air. Sarah pushed herself up, wincing, her voice shaky. Why would you do that?" Jack's mouth opened, but no words came. His mind raced back to the accident that took his wife, a drunk driver swerving into their lane. He'd been powerless then, and now, in this moment, he'd overreacted to a simple slip. Shame burned in his chest. But just as Mike dialed 911, the door to the bar swung open with a jingle that cut through the tension like a knife. In walked Lily, her tiny frame bundled in a pink coat, bald head covered by a knitted hat her mother had made. She shouldn't have been there. Jack had left her with a neighbor for just an hour, but the neighbor had called, saying Lily insisted on finding her daddy because she felt better tonight. Clutching a crumpled drawing in her hand, she scanned the room with wide eyes. "Daddy?" she called, her voice small but piercing. The entire bar turned, and time seemed to slow. Jack's tough exterior cracked as he knelt down, tears streaming down his face. "Lily, baby, what are you doing here?" The crowd's anger evaporated, replaced by a collective gasp. They saw it now, the hospital bracelet on her wrist, the fragility in her steps, the way Jack scooped her up like she was the most precious thing in the world. Sarah, still on the floor, watched in stunned silence. Lily toddled over, extending the drawing, a crayon sketch of a family, stick figure Jack, a smiling mom in heaven, and Lily in the middle, holding hands. "I made this for you, Daddy. To make you happy." Jack choked back a sob, pulling Lily close. "I'm so sorry," he whispered to Sarah, his voice breaking. "I didn't mean. After losing her mom, I see danger everywhere. I thought you were falling on me, and I panicked." The bar froze, every eye locked on the scene. The truckers lowered their cues, the couples held their breaths, even the guitarist stopped mid-note. In that moment, the raw vulnerability of a broken man and his fighting child pierced through the noise of everyday judgments. Mike released Jack's collar, his own eyes misty. "Kid's got cancer?" he asked quietly. Jack nodded, explaining in hushed tones about the treatments, the sleepless nights, the fear that clawed at him every day. Sarah, wiping her tears, stood up and approached them. "I get it," she said softly. "I've been through hell too. No hard feelings." She knelt to Lily's level. "That's a beautiful drawing, sweetie. Want some ice cream?" "On the house." The crowd shifted from outrage to empathy. One by one, patrons stepped forward. A trucker slipped a 50 into Jack's pocket for the kids' fund, a couple offered to babysit, and Mike started a collection jar behind the bar. Whispers turned to stories of their own losses, creating an unexpected bond in the smoky room. As the night wore on, Jack and Sarah talked. She shared her escape from abuse, how she'd rebuilt her life brick by brick. He opened up about the loneliness of single parenthood, the guilt of not being enough for Lily. Their conversation flowed like a river finding its course, two wounded souls finding solace in shared pain. By closing time, Jack had apologized a dozen times, and Sarah had forgiven him just as many. Lily fell asleep in his arms, her drawing clutched tight. The bar, once frozen in shock, now thawed into warmth, a reminder that behind every rash act lies a story untold. Jack walked out into the cool night air, Lily's head on his shoulder, feeling a spark of hope for the first time in months. Sarah waved from the door, promising to check in. The challenges weren't over, the bills loomed, the treatments continued, but in that bar, he'd found unexpected allies. It taught him that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the bridge to connection. And for everyone who witnessed it, it was a wake-up call: judge less, understand more. Life's too short for snap assumptions. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. It means the world to creators like me sharing tales of hope and humanity. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional journeys that remind us we're all in this together. What's your story of unexpected kindness? Share in the comments below.